Okay guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, we're out doing an overnight camp, kind of stealth camping, and we are going to make a Dakota fire hole. And I've done these in the past, and normally, I think I've showed it on camera maybe once or twice. The standard kind of Boy Scout method that you see the drawings of are normal, like two 10-inch circles that are connected with like a little air funnel. But today I wanted to try something a little different. I'm going to make it a little wider, more rectangular, and I'm going to have two of those air chimneys or air supply holes. So this first part I'm just going to be digging, and then afterwards we might take some closer looks. Okay, so now we have the main hole dug. I'm going to try and make two small chimney ports that shoot right down there. So we have this fire pit dug now. I'm just going to light it up, and then after it's lit, it'll be a perfect way to show you the benefits of this type of fire pit. So we'll light it up, show you that whole process, and then take a closer look at it. So while it starts up, we'll start talking about some of the benefits. The first one, maybe the primary reason to use one of these, is if you're in a, some people call it a non-permissive environment, or somewhere where campfires aren't banned, but they're just not really recommended, or you're trying to keep a low profile. Maybe you're in a state park, but you're not at a designated camp location or a designated fire pit. So the number one benefit is you're sinking the fire down in the ground, which reduces its visible signature, especially at night. The next one is it's easier to cook on, because you can run some green logs across here, or you could probably use aluminum tent poles or anything. You could run it across here and make a little grate to put, some type of pot, a can, or just canned good that you want to heat it up. But the other thing is it produces very little smoke. Pretty much what happens, and you can, in the next couple minutes, you'll kind of see it take place, is you're going to start producing heat here, and it's going to be sucking oxygen in, because you need oxygen for fire, or air pretty much for fire. So just from the laws of physics or thermodynamics, these two things here will pretty much become a vacuum, and air will get sucked down into these, almost like a vortex, to fuel that fire. So once it gets burning at 100%, I guess, we'll probably flip the camera back on, because you can even put your ear down next to these ports, and it sounds like a really quiet, but it almost sounds like a fan or a jet engine, because it's sucking air down into the fire. So it's been burning for about 5 minutes now. You can feel a lot of heat coming off of it, and you can kind of just faintly hear air getting sucked down into these ports. But the couple things I wanted to talk about first is smoke signature. Because it's burning so efficiently, there's not much smoke, and you'll always pretty much get the most amount of smoke when you first start up a fire for the first couple minutes. So if you're going for a low smoke or smoke-free fire, this is a really good option. And the other thing, though, I was going to mention is burning so hot and so efficiently down there, that you can use less than ideal wood. So you can see a lot of this wood we've picked off the ground. It's dead, but it's damp to the touch. And you would throw this on a standard fire and it would just spit out smoke for 20 minutes and not really put out any heat. But because of how hot and efficient this technique burns, all the wood that we put on it, as you can see, this one's starting to catch, but it's kind of damp to the touch. Just random wood we picked off the ground. So that's the other advantage, because a lot of people want pristine, like split cordwood for a campfire, which to me was always silly, because you're just, I guess, putting tons of hot air out into the environment. So you can just use random wood. I'll wait a couple more minutes and I'll throw this bunch on, and then after that you're already ready for larger rounds, as you can see to the side. Okay guys, so this Dakota fire pit's been burning for, we probably started about an hour ago, a little bit after 5, maybe it's like 6:30 or something now. So it's been burning for quite a while. Off screen, which maybe we'll pan over to, we have not even that big a pile of wood. And I've heard many people say that one issue with the Dakota fire hole is because it burns so hot and efficiently, you're going to consume more firewood with it. But compared to standard fires, we've thrown like maybe 6 of those larger logs on in the past hour and a half. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. The first one is because the fire is not, a normal fire pit would be right up here. If you have just your gusts of wind coming in, that's carrying all your heat, it's giving your fire oxygen, but it's, I don't know, something about it, it burns really hot, not with a lot of smoke, but I don't really see that it eats up wood very quickly. A couple downsides I wanted to talk about. The first one being is if you live in a really cold area and there's tons of snow on the ground, or even if there's no snow on the ground but the ground is frozen, which, like in my case, that would be anywhere from, like, say Halloween to Memorial Day or middle of May or something like that. The ground could be frozen. The other thing is if you don't have tools with you, we've made a couple of these and we use like sticks and like an old primitive digging type thing, and it took quite a while. So if you have the necessary tools, it's fairly quick. If you don't, it's fairly labor intensive. But I think even using sticks to dig it, the dividends kind of pay off for the advantages, so to speak. It's probably not coming through on camera that well, but there is zero smoke. Now, sometimes when it burns down or you'll put a couple fresh logs on, it will smoke for a couple minutes. But I'm sitting about a foot away, and every now and again we'll get a little bit of smoke in the eye, but it's generally smoke free. The other thing is, right before we started this video, I walked back about 50 feet, looked directly where I knew the fire was burning, and I could see a couple small flames. But someone that doesn't know the exact location, it conceals pretty good, which can be generally advantageous and not really a detriment, except if you're like stuck in the woods and you're trying to signal for help. You might want a really big, large, visible fire, and you maybe would even want that up on a pedestal, so to get above like the brush line. But generally speaking, just a general campfire when you're out camping, I actually find it a little more polite if the fire isn't quite as visible, because if there is other people around, I guess it's more polite. And the same goes for the smoke. If you're in a busy campground and you have a really smoky fire, it kind of annoys the other people camping there, and it ruins their experience and yours too. But with less smoke, it's a little more pleasant to be around. The last thing I wanted to cover too, speaking about the leave no trace principle, is some people say that this is really evident, or it's you're kind of destroying the land and you're leaving a big footprint of where you were. But I've seen them all over the place in some surprising locations. You'll see a big, 1 to 2 foot diameter black unburnt firewood, and there's clearly a campfire that used to be there. The thing with this is, before we leave, or if we need to put it out quickly, that's the other thing, all that loose fill on the back you can just drag, and you don't have to dump tons of water, and so you can make Smokey the Bear happy without having to waste a lot of drinking water. So pretty much right before we leave, we'll just drag the dirt back on top. I saved the main grass clump that I dug out of this, which I'll pop back on, and then all these grass clumps here, once I fill these 2 ports, I just put it back, and when it's all said and done, we'll know that we had a fire here. When we come by here the next time, we might be able to notice it a little bit, but someone just driving by or walking by, they won't notice it. It won't be as evident as a standard fire pit or fire ring. The last thing I wanted to mention, because I was talking about cold weather, is if you're in an area for a couple days, and I've never done this, so this is purely just kind of off the cuff, but one thing I've thought about is the first day you have a standard fire, and all that heat will thaw the ground out. After that, because the ground's thawed out, then you can dig and make one of these, and the added benefit, and I'm just kind of feeling it now, is you can sleep right in front of here, and you're not only getting the radiant heat, well, you're not only getting the heat from the fire, but it's heating the ground around you. The other thing, as you can see, I put some smaller rocks here, but if you are able to find larger boulders, it's the same premise. You can put them around the fire, and those will soak up heat, and then even after the fire dies down, it's kind of a natural quasi-radiator. Okay, so hopefully you found this video fairly interesting, entertaining, even though it's mostly just me talking and you looking at a campfire. But like always, go back to my homepage, watch some of my current videos. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. And like always, if you have any extra feedback, tips that I could utilize, or comments, you know where to leave those.